football season, Bell Bank is giving one KFAN listener each week $1,000 to pay it forward to a charity of their choice. Just head over to KFAN.com, keyword contest to learn more and enter today. That's KFAN.com, keyword contest.
Couple 13-14 pass Common Man program coming to the Twin Cities later this month. It's Joe Barabasa. I'm Comedy's 10 to be the legendary Mark Rosen joins us now. And we take the 5 C's here at the Common Man program: compliments, complaints, concerns, comments, and questions in a variety of ways. Our favorite is the Brad John Bryant KFAN text line. Had a couple come in that I need to start with because I need to get this off my chest. First one, I was criticizing the Wolves for their lack of defensive effort again. And
for good reason.
Dan from Rochester says, seems a little hypocritical for you to criticize lack of effort, having listened to your Grum for a couple 13, 14 years. Oh, you find that funny, Mark?
Well, he's got a point.
Then there's this one. Complaint. The host of this show is literally glued to his phone to plan out his future golf game. This comes after a plug for his son's podcast with a subject that includes toxic phone use. You just can't make it up.
Two very good.
I didn't even think about that. You would have thought I should have pretended I planned that.
Right.
Because I really didn't.
That's funny.
And I wasn't glued to my phone. I leave my phone on because I'm expecting a phone call someday.
Right.
I'm going to get a phone call. That's going to change my life. I don't know when it's coming, who it's from, or what it's about.
That's right.
But I don't want to miss it.
No.
If I have my phone off during the show, they might not call me back.
No. People
just need to calm down and relax. There's a lot of bitterness too with my with the Wolves. Because I'm not pleased with what I've seen, especially last night. And I've had a couple of people. I have to hold on a second because I do want to read a couple of these, and they're so far back now.
There it is.
That might be the call. They hung up. I didn't get a chance to answer it.
Very Dan Campbell-like.
Here's one. Give me 1 second. Oh, here it goes. You're panicking after 11 games? Let me guess. You're the rational one at home. Here's another. Comment, I do believe you talked like this in November last year about them or what happened. Just enjoy the season. And there are literally, if I sifted through here, I could find a couple 13, 14 criticizing me for worrying too much and being annoyed by what I saw and relax. It's early in the year. And it's like, the whole point is, I guess other people don't get as annoyed as I do that we hear the same exact excuses. Ant says, well, we're just not starting, I guess we got to start trying to play defense right at the beginning of the game. Yeah, there's offense and defense in basketball. So he's admitting, well, yeah, sometimes we just don't start playing. Doesn't that bother people at all? I mean, do I think the Wolves aren't going to make the playoffs? No. Will they get this thing turned around right now, Van Halen-like? I suppose they probably will, but don't people, if you paid money for that, was that at Target last night?
No, it was in Portland.
Let's say it was at home, and you paid money to watch that, and you would go, oh, well, hey, that was worth every red cent I paid. Right. Boy, what a great effort, guys. Way to go. Sauce and I might bomb Friday he might get booed off the stage, and I might as well, up at Rockwood's Comedy Club in Otsego. But we're going to do it dripping with sweat. We're going to give it everything we've got. We're not going to go, oh, well, I guess it was just one of those nights. Don't you get tired of that or not?
I watched every second of that game last night.
You did?
Yes. And then I was flipping over to watch the end of a very compelling reunion game with Klay Thompson and the Dallas Mavericks went into Golden State, which had the feel of a Game 7 Western Conference championship. It was riveting basketball. The stars came out. Doncic, Curry was phenomenal down the stretch. Klay did his thing. And I felt like I was watching, when I watched the Wolves in Portland, I was watching the JV game. And there's a difference between panicking and giving an honest analysis of what's going on with this team right now.
Thank you.
And I think you're in a position to have it both ways. I'm not panicking over this team because I knew they have some new faces. They might miss slow-mo more than they admit right now. But there's definitely something off. I mean, when they lose, I mean, you don't get outscored 28-17. And I know, like I said, I watched pretty much every minute of the game last night. Portland had just been embarrassed at home, I think, on Sunday. And
well, they got beat by 45 points.
Yeah, right. And so
45 points.
They gave them the riot act. But the Wolves were kind of embarrassed about what happened the other night at home at the end of that game against Miami when they let a surefire victory slip away because Eric Spoelstra outcoached them. And they came out in this, I don't know, again, this tournament thing they have going, but could not have been more lethargic in that first quarter. And kudos to Portland. They made pretty much every 3-point shot they threw up early in the first half in particular. I think they were shooting 60-some% in the first half of 3-pointers. Guys I've never heard of. I'm looking at the box score right now, and I still haven't heard of pretty much any of the players on the Portland Trailblazers. But, kudos to them for hanging in there. And then, the Wolves thought, they're going to make a run. And it never came. Julius Randle, who I like, and I've liked watching I've watched every Knick game, but I like his aggressiveness. I like the way he plays the game. He had his feet stuck in cement last night defensively, and they couldn't get anything out of him. Gobert was a non-factor. Mike Conley was a non-factor. I mean, it's not as if Finch is going to his bench. He played 8 players last night and didn't get anything really out of Gobert. Very little out of Conley. And the bench provided, Nas was the guy. He led the team with 28 points and was, effective as he could be. Alexander Walker tried to do his best, but that was kind of it. I mean, I thought as a game, and again, in the fourth quarter, it's a question I don't have an answer to. Now, again, they play again the same team tonight, and they'll probably win by 15 or so.
I wouldn't count on it.
No, maybe not. You might be right. But I thought last night, given the fact they're playing back-to-back in the same place, I don't know if he was punishing his starters, but I think this would have been a time to have Dillingham play, Shannon play, maybe a little bit of Luka Garza.
You like Luka.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, if these guys aren't putting forth the kind of effort that you feel, I heard Finch on a little bit this morning with PA, then have these guys sit. You're gonna have to play him tomorrow night again against the same team. Or was he using it as like, all right, you guys made this mess, you go fix it, or you guys finish it. I don't care if you're tired tomorrow night. You're not going to be tired because so what? You're staying in the same city. Anyway, the point of the matter is, it was they got thumped last night, and they're 6-5. They've had a couple of those clunkers. They had them a couple of years ago. No, I'm not panicking as a team, but this isn't the same team as it was a year ago. And again, when I flipped over and watched Dallas play Golden State, I went, oh boy. And then you look at the rest of the West and you go, OKC, Phoenix,
I think we're missing slow-mo and
well, I mean, there's going to be an adjustment. Yeah, I mean, they're not the same. And I don't know. I mean, there's still things that they're going to have to...
Do you think we'll make the playoffs?
Yes,
I think there's a chance we might miss the playoffs.
No, there's always a chance.
We need Bodega Cat. Can we make that? Can we trade back?
No. The Cat's not playing great defense in New York either, so I wouldn't.
All I know is if it wasn't for Big Meow, if it wasn't for Bodega Cat against Denver last year, we would not have advanced. Nobody played defense against the Joker like he did. He was brilliant.
He was that series.
You were all about trading him.
I wasn't all about trading him. I kind of shrugged my shoulders about the whole thing. Let's see what they get in return. Well, they got
okay. I'm not a big fan of the club right now. But this is the tough love cover.
Well, maybe you should stay up and watch part of the game tonight. No, it's not going to happen.
No, I didn't watch any of it last night either.
I know you didn't.
Let's.
I can tell.
I don't need to. Just read what they say about it.
Well, it's better when you actually watch it.
Why?
Because you can make your own observations.
I trust you.
All right. Well, I gave you my best observation, and I agree with a lot of what you said. So.
Let's take a break, and as we do, it's a keyword.
The Fan and 2 men in a junk truck. I want to give you a shot to put $1,000 in your hand with our national cash contest. Enter the keyword cash at KFAN.com now for a shot at winning. The keyword is cash. Enter now at KFAN.com. Mark Rosen's appearance on the program is brought to you by your Greater Twin City Honda dealers. Inflation Vacation is back on KFAN. We have 9 chances for you to win $1,000 every weekday. That's every hour from 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. To enter the keywords and learn more, head to KFAN.com. Inflation Vacation is powered by 2 men and a junk truck.
And now all our hopes, all our dreams of securing the NBA Cup, gone.
Yeah, you know how I feel about that. I told you about it yesterday. You're all hopped up about it. I went,
I'm excited about the NBA Cup.
Point differential and this and that. I'm going, who cares?
Timmy, can you believe what he's saying?
I mean, it's just, I'm not
because
saying,
it's the Cup. Haven't you ever heard that?
I've heard it all right. We haven't experienced it, but yes. It's a different sport, but...
Well, the problem is the Timberwolves felt the same way Rosen does about it.
Yeah.
That's what's wrong with that team.
That's exactly right.
They exactly didn't, because if you were watching the end of the game last night, normally teams just dribble it out. The Wolves were actually trying to score, even though they were losing by, 14 or something, because point differential has...
good for them.
Yeah, and it's like that's what I'm saying, how silly it is. Instead of just dribbling it out, they're trying to score because somehow, some way, they're clinging on to these slim hopes that they can advance. They have the easiest bracket, but the NBA is practically saying, we want you in Las Vegas for the semifinals or whatever of this tournament. But now the Wolves basically, unless they win by 30 tonight, which still doesn't give them, 3-1 teams have trouble necessarily making, I guess, I don't even understand the whole format, but...
Joel Embiid played last night. Yeah. He's out tonight for knee management. He's on pace to play 10 games this year. Your thoughts?
No, I'm not surprised.
No, 10 games. That's what he's on pace for. They played 10 games so far, 80-game schedule. He's going to play one every 10
I think I gave you that stat last week about the number of games he's missed in his career. Yeah, he went up against Cat last night, and the Knicks kind of took it to him in Philly, and they were walking out of the arena before it was over. So, yeah, that's a mess. There's so many players. They had
10 games is a lot of games.
When I was watching the Dallas Golden State game, they had a Chiron, reveal a graphic of all the players who are out right now for various reasons. Short-term, long-term, mostly at least a couple of weeks. Long list already. The soft tissue kind of injuries, the Chet Holmgren hip, whatever had happened to him, he's out for 2 months at least.
He had a pelvic fracture.
Yeah, it just sounds painful to say it.
Did you say Chiron Irving? Is that what you said?
No, I said a Chiron or a graphic.
I'm sorry.
That Dallas team, I know they lost last night. They got better. That's a really good team. The big tall trees they have in there besides, and Kyrie Irving is still playing at a very high level. They're awfully good. And the West is loaded. So, the Wolves are... They got work to do already. Just the way they play the game, they're going to have to prove it against better teams. They're going to have that opportunity. I think Phoenix is here Sunday afternoon, minus Durant.
I like that Phoenix. Yeah, Durant's out for an extended period
weeks,
too,
at least.
right?
Yeah, at least a few more weeks.
And they were playing mighty well when we talked about this. I brought up that they had our guy Tyus playing for them, and
right.
The team was playing so much better. And those numbers were showing that Beal and Booker. Were, I don't know who breaks this stuff down. Somebody actually watches. Think about this. They have to watch a game and count how many times they dribble. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And they broke it down that they were dribbling like, I don't know the exact numbers, but significantly less because now they had a real point guard that likes to play that position and doesn't need to be the team's leading scorer. He's not so concerned about the stats. And he was bringing the ball up, getting to the guys in the right position, and it's pretty exciting if you're a Phoenix fan, because I think if Durant comes back and everything's fine, I think that team could be a dark horse to win that.
100%.
To win that conference. Now, they're loaded. We know it. The conferences. We talked about this yesterday. Going into yesterday's games, the East had 2 teams over 500, while the West had 9, and they had 11 that were at least at 500 or better. And that's how deep it is, and it's going to be hard. That's why and again, I had the people. What are you panicking about? You look back, and if we get the 5th seed instead of the 4th seed by a game, you're going to look back at that pathetic, putrid performance last night and go, well, how do you let that stuff happen? And it's not the only time they've done that this year. And I'm assuming it won't be the last time either. And so when they get that 5th or 6th seed, and you can come back to me then and apologize to me and say, Common, you were right. they need to take all these games more seriously. It's just a 2.5-hour game. Play defense from the start of the game.
Well, and the way they reacted after that very disappointing loss to Miami, minus Jimmy Buckets the other night here at Target Center, Finch, was mad, and rightfully so, at himself. Ant didn't talk to the media. The team was kind of seething right over the way they lost that game, and they had it. You don't lose games like that at home. Well, I thought of course they're going to bounce back. The first game of the tournament against awful Portland team. I don't expect to blow them out like they did here at home, but you got to come back. You got to play defense. You got to make them sweat for that victory, and then they never pushed back, which is really. It's one thing to lose the game, and that that happens for any team. But it's another thing to kind of never have that pushback in that game last night. They cut it, I think, to 6 or 8 at one point in the second half, but never really threatened, never really made a run, which is what the NBA is all about. So that was the disappointing part of the way that thing finished up last night.
Vikings quarterback J.J. McCarthy required an injection to his right knee this week to address swelling that occurred during his physical rehab. Head coach Kevin O'Connell said it's not a setback for McCarthy, who suffered a season-ending torn meniscus during his first preseason game in August. I'm reading from a Fish Wrap Factory West Side story. McCarthy remains on his, quote, original timeline to return, said O'Connell. The quarterback suffered a radial tear of the medial meniscus that required a full repair and a 6 to 8 month recovery. So, again, it sounds like they're saying it's no big deal. I've not watched every knee injury in the history of pro football, but I'd never heard of having to inject because of swelling.
Well, I will quote the great Ben Lieber, who just retweeted something based on Seifert's report, and Ben tweeted out, quote, biological injection probably means a PRP, a platelet-rich plasma injection, which is pretty standard these days for recovery and inflammation.
All right.
No biggie.
No biggie.
So those are the words of Ben Lieber. Well, I mean, it's November. He's got plenty of time to recover. He's a young guy. But
what if he never plays again?
Well, that would be a disaster.
That would be a disaster.
as you guys say,
crossed.
That would be disaster written all over it.
Yeah, that would have disaster written all over it.
I don't think that's good. I see Anthony Richardson's been inserted back as the starting quarterback.
I saw that
for the Colts.
And then I thought to myself, and it was on.
What was that all about?
Well, and here's the thing. Shouldn't that be in the agate type? Does anybody care about the Colts? Aren't the Colts just basically now spiraling out of control?
Yeah. Well, the whole AFC South is.
Yeah.
I mean,
so.
Although I do think the Vikings are going to have their hands full Sunday. I don't.
You do?
I don't feel.
You're not going to take them in spread swing this week and double down?
No. I mean, I think
what is it about this 2-7 Titans team that has you?
Well, concerned? I just think after watching last week and the week before, this offense scares me a little bit right now. The Vikings offense.
The Vikings offense.
Their defense, especially getting cash in, cash out back.
Right.
I mean, and I heard KOC talk about him today. He does have a domino effect on this entire defense. You would never imagine one player like that, a linebacker, having an effect on Grenard, having an effect on Van Ginkel. Pretty much everybody. He's kind of the glue.
When you watch Cashman, do you see more Dick Butkus or Ray Nitschke, do you think?
Neither.
Yeah,
I
see Ray Lewis.
Thank you.
I see Nick Bonacani.
Nick Bonacani. There's a good comparison.
I just like saying Nick Bonacani. He was a hell of a player for the Killer Bees.
Nitschke would just kind of go straight ahead, and Butkus would just tear your head off inside the 5-yard radius.
We'll break. We'll come back. One more segment to go with Mark Rosen, tend to be in the Common Man right here on the Fan. To blame you, Tenevie, but it's not your fault. It's mine, and I take full responsibility. I'm not a guy that passes the buck. I'd like to. I was supposed to give away 2 pairs of tickets today. It's a Wild Wednesday. Mm-hmm. Jim Beam's the official bourbon of the Wild. So we have a pair of tickets to give away to the Blackhawks game. I'm not sure the date on that, Tenevie. Also lost my cheat sheet, but it's an upcoming.
That's on November 29th.
Okay. And then Flop, Sweat, and Tears. I know you'll be there. You already have tickets. You found them on the dashboard of your Honda Pilot. Somebody had busted out your driver's side window. And I know you and Karn are coming to see Flop, Sweat, and Tears up at Rockwood's Comedy Club.
You do?
That's this Friday. There are 2 shows.
Okay.
There is a dinner show. That's the early show. Show starts at 6:30. Then they'll clear the room. They might not even have to clear it. People might be just leaving it with breakneck speeds. And then we're going to do an after dark show that starts at 9:30. We're giving away a pair of tickets for the Wild Blackhawks and a pair of tickets for Flop, Sweat, and Tears at Rockwood's, the after dark show. So Tennessee will take the 11th caller. They get their choice of what tickets they want, either Wild or
Tough decision.
Comedy. It is. And then whatever they take, just give the next caller the Wild tickets.
I love it.
We've done this 26 times. We're over 26 on people taking the comedy tickets first. So,
Well, of course. Look at the choices.
What do you all want?
Well, I mean, Wild tickets or the...
Well, a Wild hockey game is just the same thing.
Game after game.
Wait.
The comedy show is unique in itself.
Oh, wait.
Refreshed.
So just give the second, who the runner. This one says, Shane from Tonka. Why don't you do more show prep? Well, I texted him back during the break. That's too much work. Besides, it's a Wing It Wednesday. Doesn't he know? We wing it on Wednesday. We don't show prep. We just wing it is what we do. I never did get to ask you yesterday. Your Minnesota Golden Gopher a football team. They had won their last 4 in a row, 4-game winning streak, including 2 teams that they beat when they were ranked at the time. They take on a Rutgers club on the road. It's 16-14. They have the lead. Then deep in their own territory, tight end Gear, I think, fumbles the ball.
Right.
The Greek kid, as
Rare
you like
fumble.
to call him.
Right.
They score a tutty. Gophers get the ball back deep in their own territory. Rosen gets sacked for a safety. They get 2 more points. Then the Gophers have to kick to them. They drive down, get in field goal range, and that's your ball game. They're a game that was in their grasp with, 8 minutes to go when all this happened, I think? It was something about it, somewhere around 8 minutes, and it was gone. And the Greek kid, I think, he probably had something to, he probably had a little chip on his shoulder.
Sure he did.
He ended up having a good overall game. The first half, he was spectacular. I mean, he was something like 16 for 20 with 2 tutties. Ended up completing, maybe it was 14 for 20, because they only ended up completing like 3 more passes in the second half, but they didn't really need him to, I guess, because they were able to win the game. But that's another one. The Gophers seem to, they just when it seems like they really got something going, the rug gets pulled out from under.
That hurts. I mean, it hurt. I mean, and it wasn't like Rutgers didn't deserve to win the game. They outplayed Minnesota when it counted. In particular, they have some talented wide receivers. I haven't seen Rutgers play, and Kalkamanis, I pronounce his name right. He had something to prove, I think, and you said had a really good first half. The Gophers had their opportunities. The Gophers rarely turn the ball over. They're not a turnover machine, and especially a turnover deep in your own end. That was really unfortunate and really killed their chances. But Rutgers deserved to win the game. They were the better team, I think, overall that day. But it's one of those that, when you look at the schedule, man, that would be really nice to get that one, because now they got a bye week and come back and play Penn State here. And the crowd will be hepped up for that one, and the players, they get, Darius, they get Taylor some rest between now and then, and he definitely needs it. And it just seemed like the running game, and I'm not comparing it to the pros. It's a whole different thing, of course, when you're watching NFL teams, especially ones with really good running games, but it just seems like it's my impression is that it's very slow developing runs that they have. When they hand the ball off and he gets going, man, the pacing is just so different, and you realize it's a different game, different athletes, different ages and everything else. But that's kind of who the Gophers are, though. I mean, there isn't much more you can say about it other than the fact that they had an opportunity. But that's kind of who they are. They're going to win some games, close games like that, and they're unfortunately going to lose games like that. Now the question is, can they shock Penn State again here a week from Sunday? Then it was Saturday, and then they got Wisconsin to finish up, which is always roll the dice, if not more. Even though the Badgers are not having a great year.
Is that in Madison, or is it
that's
here?
in Madison, I believe. Yeah. So kind of they're kind of finishing the way we thought that this season might end. I mean, with the record they have, maybe a little bit better. But that one hurts, especially going into the bye week. I mean, not much more you can say. They had their chances, but Rutgers just was a little bit better.
Yeah, that would have been that was the one you almost had to have, because it's going to be hard to beat Penn State. It's going to be hard to beat Penn State even at home.
Oh, of course it is.
They're I don't know where they are in the rankings. They're top 10. I think. Still.
Yeah, they're fundamentally always very sound, and it's they're not gonna make a lot of mistakes, and they're not a maybe a top 5 team, but they're awfully good, and they're tough to beat. And Minnesota's done it here. They've done it here before and recently, but it's going to take that kind of a perfect game. No more turnovers. Forcing a turnover. Making their kicks, just doing the little things well, and putting themselves in the fourth quarter, a position to steal that one.
Chiefs, 9-0, are they? They stole one against Denver. It was a game. It looked like it was. I don't know. I talked about this with Tenneby. Tenneby, the first person took the comedy tickets, right?
That's funny.
Did they take the comedy tickets or the wild tickets?
First person said he loves the common man, but took the wild tickets.
What?
So we're 0 for 27 when the choice between comedy tickets and
you got a record. You should get your record intact.
You didn't ask me about the second person though.
They didn't want the comedy tickets.
They said no, I'll pass.
What is wrong with people?
Did anybody get them?
The third person.
Did they sound excited or disappointed?
I said, would you like to go to Lobster and Tears? And he goes, oh, sure.
What?
The way he said that.
Ten is grinning ear to ear. You're cackling over there. You find that funny?
Well, his reaction was funny. You find it sound like Joe Pesci here in Goodfellas.
We're taking comedy north of that Anoka County line is what we're doing.
I understand that.
We work hard.
I know you do. I've been involved with it before.
You know what it is with the two of you guys?
No, I've been there.
And all the other people out there? It's bandwagon. It really is. Yeah, Sauce and I are laying it on the line.
I know you are.
We're in the comedy room. We're in the green room.
I have.
We're laying it on the line. Sometimes it doesn't work.
Great empathy for you. I've been in a couple of your shows, and I know I had the flop sweats going before I got on stage. It's unnerving.
Sauce was simply brilliant.
Was he?
On Friday. He really wasn't. Think about this. On Wednesday, he was booed off the stage. Friday.
He wasn't really booed off.
Well, not really, but, somebody did boo, so I just go with it. He went from getting booed off the stage at the Mud Room to we couldn't get him off the stage 2 days later at River Oaks Golf Course. That's how good he was.
That's a bounce back.
Yes.
Yeah. That's the way you recovered, Tim
Do
Rolls.
people not want to see? Why wouldn't they want to go see that, especially when you don't have to pay for it?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, who doesn't want to laugh these days? I mean, we all need a good laugh. Can't have enough of it.
You'll laugh so much your side will ache, your heart will go pity-pat watching Felix the cat. Chiefs 9-0.
Yes. They
stole one. I asked him to be this, and I don't think we were able to find out. But, how many times do field goals get blocked? What do you think the percentage is?
Not very high.
It just doesn't happen.
Especially a short one like that.
Of course, with the Chiefs, it has to happen.
Right, of course.
Denver's about to hand them their first loss of the year. They make it. They go to 9-0. A team that's much like even though they're 9-0, they just don't seem to be the Chiefs of old. Even though they're winning, they're back-to-back champions. But
they're pacing themselves to the playoffs.
They're getting the band back together.
Right. I got Pacheco back.
15 minutes ago, it said that Juju Smith-Schuster.
Oh boy.
And Isaiah Pacheco are both back. Defensive end Charles on the practice squad. So, now with two key players on the offensive side of the ball out, you go to 9-0.
Right.
It's not difficult to believe that they're going to just even play better now. They're just they continue to be the team to beat. They're just there. We talked about. We actually talk about dynasties in pro sports. Yeah. I guess Golden State Warriors are pretty close. I mean, we know the Bulls were. I'm talking recent.
Yeah, correct.
I guess Golden State. Did they win 4 in 8 years? Was it something like that? The New England Patriots. Hard to argue there with under Brady and Belichick. I don't know if we haven't had an equivalent lately in hockey. Certainly, I don't think we've had one in baseball. Though, did the Astros win a couple in a 3-year period?
Really,
but I don't remember. And they
really
cheated to do that.
Right.
But it's back. and no one's won 3 in a row, correct? No one's ever won 3 big games in a row.
So.
And right now,
Even the great Pittsburgh teams.
Even though they don't seem to be, well, they're not dominating. Even though they're not dominating, you just get that feel when that team with Reed, and then, Mahomes he's so talented.
Right.
And his fourth quarter performances have been off the charts. That's where, come fourth quarter, bring it to the ticket. Come fourth quarter, bring it to Patty Mahomes. And it's hard. I mean, I'm not saying that they're guaranteed to win the big game, but boy, I'd be hard-pressed to bet against them right now.
They got Buffalo this week on the road.
Yeah.
That's the marquee game of the weekend.
There's a lot of good games this weekend.
There are. Pittsburgh-Baltimore, right? That's another one. I was going to ask you, based on the strength of the AFC, which is overall a lot stronger than the NFC, I think, from top in this top echelon teams, which team do you feel has the best chance, even if they play in Kansas City, which apparently they would more than likely have to, given their record, to beat the Chiefs in the postseason? I would probably say, I mean, it's kind of, to me, it's a toss-up between Baltimore and Pittsburgh, but Baltimore's more talented on offense because of Lamar Jackson. The Steelers are the Steelers. The defense of Mike Tomlin is elite every single year. I just think Baltimore would have the better chance, but I don't know how you feel.
Can I give you
about
the dark horse?
Chargers.
No.
Oh, their defense.
I'm going to give it dark horse because right now they're not in the playoffs.
Okay, hold on. Let me think. You're saying AFC or NFC?
AFC. Like he said, who would have the best shot of going into Kansas City and beating the Chiefs?
Okay, hold on. Yeah. Let me see. I don't know who.
They call it Burrowhead.
Oh, come on. What?
Nobody plays the Kansas City Chiefs better than the Cincinnati Bengals. That's why they call it Burrowhead.
Are they going to make the playoffs?
Well, their offense has been going the last couple weeks.
Yeah. No, you're right. He does play well against them, but I brought
this stat yesterday. Maybe you just said it now when I wasn't really listening to you. I was just waiting for my turn to talk. Last 3 regular season games, Buffalo's beaten Kansas City. Last 3 playoff games, Kansas City's beaten Buffalo. So when it really counts, Kansas City is won. So don't be surprised if Buffalo wins.
Yeah.
But it's playoff football. And the craziest one was with Buffalo had it with 13 seconds to go. And Kansas City tied the game. Didn't they tie and then win in overtime? Is that how that went, Tanby? 13 seconds to go in the playoffs, and Kansas City tied, and then they won.
Well, okay, let me ask you one more question. Which team in the NFC do you feel has the best chance of beating your Lions?
I thought you were to say who was going to.
No. The Lions are the clear-cut favorite to win the NFC. I think. But which team going into the
Tanby, do you think the Lions are a clear-cut favorite?
Yes.
To win in the NFC?
Yes.
If you had to pick one, yeah. I mean, it depends on your definition of clear-cut.
I mean, I just think I don't think the competition is as strong top to bottom. They have some good teams. I mentioned the AFC.
They got beat by Tampa Bay earlier this year.
Okay. And they almost lost on Sunday.
Haven't the Eagles won like 5 in a row?
Yeah, Eagles won 5 in a row.
Well, that's my question. Do you think the Eagles...
Vikings only lost to the Lions by 2.
That was a very good game.
Packers, I wouldn't count them out quite yet.
All right. So you think any of those teams would have a shot?
I absolutely do.
Because it's Detroit.
I've seen it, and
it's Detroit. It's not the Super Bowl. Well, actually, it would be the Super Bowl.
And again, look, I know I'm going to be accused of being like you, a fraud, because I've always said, just because something has happened year after year after year doesn't mean it has to continue. Twins were a prime example. They were 0-18. Well, they finally broke that skid, right?
Correct.
The Lions had only won 1 playoff game since 1957. And they broke that streak in grand fashion last year, getting to the NFC Championship game. So, do I like the way they're playing? Do I think right now as we speak, if I was going to say it was the best team in the NFC, I'd take Detroit. But, man, things can change. So, you know what the other beauty of football is?
Yeah.
This is why I like the NFL probably is any other sport.
Right.
It's one game. It's one and done. It's not. That's why the NCAA tournament's my second favorite event. Because it's you get beat and you're done. That's why we like the Cinderella stories.
Correct.
Glass slippers, coaches turn into pumpkins and such like that, because it's just one. If it's a best of 5 or certainly a best of 7, generally speaking,
the best team will win.
The best team is going to win. And maybe that's the way people like it. I like the idea that upsets can happen, and I could just see the kiddies be riding high, first round bye,
right?
And then Tampa comes to town, and the next
things can change quickly in a week or two. It just takes an injury to Jared Goff, and all of a sudden you're not that confident, right? I mean, that happens all the time in the NFL.
Taking that in consideration. But after what happened last year in the NFC Championship game, if the Lions don't make it to the big game this year, I don't know if they'll ever get there. I mean, this window of opportunity, and they have a young team. They got talent all over the place, especially in their offensive line and skilled position, running backs, wide receivers, the whole 9 yards. Defense is good, not great, but they're good. Aiden Hutchinson will be back next year. I don't know, though. When you have that opportunity once, twice, and if you don't knock down the door this year, psychologically, that would be really hard to recover from. So, I'm in a lot of respects, obviously I want the Vikings to get there for all sorts of reasons. But if not, I mean, how can you not be a Lions fan this year to want them to get there? Because they are. I think
there's
team.
A lot of people that share that opinion.
I absolutely,
and it's because they've been so bad.
They've been so bad, and they're entertaining to watch. I think Dan Campbell has worn on people the right way for the most part. I think people have, after his his knuckle dragging sort of stuff he did early in the
biting kneecaps. That people have embraced him. Obviously, the team has, the city has. The team has been, the downtrodden Lions all these decades. I mean, when Bud Grant owned the Lions for the whole, decade and a half, Detroit had no chance. The record was like 28.
Never had a chance of beating him. Yeah. So the laughing stock. The dread that I feel. I mean, I don't know. Going into an NFC Championship game, thinking about, man, they cannot blow it this time. That's kind of like we feel with the Vikings.
Had it in the bag last year.
Well, we felt that way in 98 and maybe 2001.
And you know what the problem's going to be?
What's that?
Same thing that happened in the NFC Championship game. It wasn't just one play.
No.
But Goff had an opportunity when they went for it on a fourth down and threw a bad pass.
He did.
Behind the guy.
He did.
And I just... Goff can be off. We saw that last week.
Yes, he can.
He's been brilliant for most of the year. Yeah. That 5-week stretch where... more tutties than incompletions. Nobody's had a quarterback rating like that over 5-game stretch in the history of the NFL, but I still don't completely. And I like him. I think he's a talented kid. He's been to a big game, but it's, I still don't know if I
know we got Spread Spring tomorrow. We got a good one tomorrow night with Philadelphia and Washington.
Oh, we do?
Philadelphia and Washington.
Washington is what
Washington, yeah.
Let me ask you a question.
All right.
If you're looking for the Lions, where do you find them?
On your porch.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Just open the door. They'll be right there.
Be right there.
They're not hiding from anybody. They're not in a lair or a den somewhere. They're right there on your porch.
We're out of time already.
Yeah, it's already.
Oh, Larry Mandello guy's ripping me on Twitter.
Well, what is he saying?
So you said the NBA Cup is meaningless, yet the first NBA Cup game had the drama of a Finals Game 7. Yes, because it was Klay Thompson's return.
Yeah.
It wasn't about the stupid NBA Cup.
Yeah, it was.
It was about Klay going back to Golden State, and it was a hell of a basketball game.
When the Wolves win the Cup, we want you nowhere near the arena, nowhere near. I don't want you even to talk about it.
I won't. I won't even mention it.
You shouldn't. We'll see you tomorrow at 2 o'clock.
Yes, sir.
And then Spread Swing with Deuce at 2:30. Tenby, thanks for having me.
Hey, great job.
You as well. We enjoyed our visit. Thanks for spending time with us today. Stick around. Big Ticket, JG, they're on deck. Right here on The Fan.
Good night. Good morning. Good afternoon. And good night, Minnesota. And good night, folks. And good night, Mrs. Calabash. Wherever you are.
I'm a fraud.
Yes.
Listen back to any of Common Man's programs by podcasting on the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.